Hi, I'm Candice Malcolm. I'm your host for the broadcast today, and I'm very pleased to be joined by my colleague and co-founder here at Juno News, Keean Bexte. Keean, how's it going?
Great. How have you been?
Busy, yeah. So I know that a lot of people have been wondering, like, hey, what happened to the Candice Malcolm Show? Where has Candice been? It's kind of a long story, but I ended up going with my husband and with my family out to California because he took a new job out there. And at first, he was commuting back and forth, and it was kind of killing him. And so I said, you know what? He's getting settled in a new job. And we're going to go and sort of be supportive and go out there. So we spent some time out there. It was really interesting. It was great to sort of be together as a family and support him. But I am now back home and at my studio, and I'm excited to get back going. And we decided to start off by doing this fireside chat to reconnect, talk to the audience, answer some questions for you here, and we're going to go through some of the news of the day. So looking forward to it. And how have you been, Kid? I know you've been really busy. You just got back from a trip to Taiwan. I think you were doing some journalism out there.
Yeah, it has been a busy summer, and now as we go into fall, it's good timing for you to be back. I mean, Canada is on the edge of a potential election. Juno started just before the last federal election. Now we don't know if there actually will be one or not, but the way things are going in Ottawa, it seems to be going about as smoothly as things were going for Justin Trudeau. So there's plenty of news to cover. Juno has been on top of it every step of the way. And I'm so happy to see that Juno has grown into becoming the largest independent news network in the country. I don't know if last time we did a fireside chat, if we really had hit that mark, but now it's pretty undisputable. The growth that we've had has been phenomenal. There's been a lot of camaraderie in the alternative independent media space, which has been great. We have a lot of really interesting plans coming up with our colleagues in Rebel News and Western Standard, but Juno News is different, and we're not trying to give anyone a jump scare. We're trying to give people the news that they need to hear, so that when they go to junonews.com, they feel like they are up to date on the day's news in the country, to genuinely replace the CBC, which is our 100% our goal, right? So I think we're on the right track, and I'm glad that you're back ready to get rolling in the fall, because it is a hypercritical time for this country.
Well, that's exactly it, right? So I spent almost a decade writing an opinion column in the Toronto Sun. And one of my critiques, even of a newspaper like the Toronto Sun that is editorially more sane, more conservative, is that you'd get to read Brian Lilly, you'd get to read Candice Malcolm, you'd read Anthony Furey and all these other, voices of sanity. But then when you go through the news section, you're still getting the same news as every other newspaper in the country. It all comes from the Canadian press. It's all incredibly biased. I've got a few examples of just how biased the news media is, right? Like you could sit there and say, oh, Juno News is biased because the founders are both conservative. And it's like, yes, that's true. And we're totally open about that fact. But we believe in the truth. Our North Star is the truth. And that is what we go after. That matters more than anything else. And so we will always be accurate. That comes first. That is our promise to the viewer. That is our promise to our subscriber. And when you look at the news, at the quality of the reporting and the investigative news and the journalism coming out of our team over at True North and the reports that they put together that we publish at Juno News, I would hold that above what I get from the legacy media. It is more accurate. It is more truthful. It is higher quality. And I'm so proud of that. I don't know that we've announced exactly what we've accomplished, Keean, but when you and I started this organization, when we launched it, which was last February, about mid-February, our goal was to reach 10,000 paid subscribers by the end of year one, right? And we've already hit that goal. We've already hit that level, and we are now putting together our next set of goals. And so it's incredible that we have this army, this many people who are here with us. It's a great business plan. I'm really, really excited about the future. We're going to be answering questions. We're going to be talking about the news on the show today. Let's just go right into a question here. This is from Rose Little. 2 questions for Keean and Candice's fireside chat. Number 1, I've been missing the Candice Malcolm Show for the last month. We'll be getting Candice's show regularly again soon. I hope you're doing well, Candice. Well, thank you. And if you needed some time away, number 2, what are your thoughts on if Carney will trigger a fall election and his budget will trigger a fall election? Why or why not? I do hope to be coming back with the Candice Malcolm Show. Obviously, my life is really busy with 4 little kids, with a husband with a new job, sort of commuting to California. The reason I didn't disclose that, by the way, prior, is because we were dealing with some security threats. I know, Keean, this is an issue that you face as well. It happened right after the Charlie Kirk assassination. And what we were noticing is that we were getting very specific threats against me and my family. And I'm not even kidding, Keean. Every time I would find one of these on Twitter, without fail, I would look at the person's profile and they would have their pronouns in their bio. It's like there's some crazy correlation between unhinged people making threats against conservatives online and this weird gender fantasy or phase. I don't even know. So anyway, all that to say that we were I was trying to lie low a little bit. I didn't want to disclose that I was in California. I'm not there anymore. I'm back. And I hope to be coming back a little bit more regularly, obviously balancing that with my family as well. So it won't be every day, but it will be some days. And if there is an election, I promise I will drop everything else and I will come back and do the Daily Show. So what are your thoughts, Keean? Do you think that the budget next week will trigger an election?
Certainly, I have a few thoughts to answer that question. We actually launched a survey this week to all of our readers at Juno News so that we could get a sense of what they liked, what they didn't like, what they wanted more of. And by a landslide, one of the most trusted thing that our viewers enjoyed, I got to get the wording right because it was a very specific question. 60% of Juno readers watch Juno products daily. So they come time and time again every day of the week to watch what's happening at Juno News. And of those people, they trusted the Candice Malcolm Show the most. The guests you had on, the angles you took, they trusted that. So they value that extremely highly. And it's going to be important to have, I think you and I, front and center when Mark Carney tries to table this budget in the House of Commons in Ottawa, because what they do and how they get this across is going to be extremely meaningful to Canadians on the right, in the center, and on the left. If there's two things that I think can happen here. The NDP either vote against the budget, which is in their interests and in the interests of their supporters, to be clear, or they abstain from the budget and allow the Liberals to pass the budget with de facto majority. That would be a dereliction of their duty. It would be an abdication of the power that was given to them by the 7 constituencies in Canada that sent NDP voters. And it would be just an extremely poor strategic error on their part. They are going to they are going to maintain those 7 seats no matter what happens. The likelihood that they lose power, lose caucus members in an election that happens now or down the road is like almost zero. They can only go up. That's how bad the last election was. If they hold an election, or if they force an election, not only will they demonstrate that they are not in the pockets of the Liberal Party anymore, like they were when Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau were running the show, they will show that they have some actual agency and value as a party. There's no better way that they could convince a voter that giving them another vote is a more meaningful thing to do when they can demonstrate that they collapse the government if the government doesn't invest enough in Canada Post or union labor or whatever it is, right? So I don't know if the CBC is going to cover that fairly, that and the many other things that are going to be happening over the next few weeks. The budget comes out on November 4th. So, I think that it's an exciting time, that's for sure.
Well, I'll just dovetail this with Gary B's question. He says the mainstream media is trying to make it look like neither side wants an election. Obviously, we cannot afford the Liberals and the many scandalous projects they have to bilk Canadians' other tax dollars. Would we see a change in government, or would we just see a strengthened Liberal commie government? And I think this is the interesting thing, right? Like when it comes to election, it's always a risk. So even for those 7 NDP MPs, I mean, it comes down to them, right? We know the Conservatives are going to vote against the bill. We presume that Elizabeth May will vote in favor of the budget. I don't think that the Bloc will come around unless the Liberals make huge concessions. And I just don't think that they're interested in doing that at this point. So it comes down to those 7 NDP MPs. Look, being an MP is a pretty cushy job, right? You get a lot of perks, you get a good salary, you get a stable pay. And you have some notoriety, you have some prestige, right? And so for those 7 NDP MPs, I just don't think there's any incentive for them. It's a risk. They could lose. The public could say, look, we just had an election. It's been 6 months. Let this government do its thing. Don't trigger an election here. And if the election is triggered, they could get punished. They could lose their seats. It all comes down to the self-interest of the individual actors, right? We like to think that there's some grand, like putting the country first here. No, it comes down to them and their paychecks and their pensions. We've learned this from the NDP. This is what they care about. This is what they stand for. They don't have a leader right now. They don't have any money in the bank. They're probably deeply in debt. I don't see a world where there is an election. And I don't even really want to go to the next step and speculate as to what would happen, because I didn't think there was any chance that the Liberals would win the last election, given what they did to the country the last 10 years. So the fact that there was certain enough voters out there to give them a second chance, a fourth chance, another chance. Never underestimate the gullibility of the Canadian voting public, the small portion of the voters in cities like Montreal and Toronto that are just willing to always forgive the Liberals and move on. Okay, Keean, I want to talk about the latest with the Canada-U.S. trade talks and the follow. I know the audience has been following this. I know that we've had some great content here at Juno News on this, but I'm dying to hear your perspective on it, Keean. So, as you know, Trump has terminated trade talks with Canada over Doug Ford's TV ads. Doug Ford, for some reason, nobody knows, he decided to pick a fight with Trump, try to humiliate him during the World Series by playing this Reagan ad talking about how former U.S. President Ronald Reagan didn't like tariffs. This is kind of cherry picking a clip from 40 years ago. We know it was a different time back then, different president. But really, the goal of this was just to purely humiliate Donald Trump, when all the eyes were watching the World Series and the Blue Jays there. And so Trump did what he's going to do, which is just, okay, you're trying to humiliate me. I'm not having any of it. We're done here. And he obviously has the upper hand. There's obviously another interesting level here, which was whether or not Mark Carney knew about the ad. So I'm going to play this clip here. This is President Trump speaking to reporters on Air Force One, saying that the Canadian officials apologized for the Reagan ad, but that he still will not be meeting with Mark Carney for a long time. Let's play that clip.
As much as I love Canada itself and the people of Canada, they've just had a lot of bad representatives. They did a fake ad yesterday. They were caught. The Ronald Reagan Foundation was the one that caught him. And they've apologized, and they said, we're going to take the ad down. Well, they did it, but they did it very late. They let it play for another 2 nights, and now they took that ad down. Prime Minister knew what the ad was before it went.
Will you see him at APEC? Do you want to meet with him?
I don't want to meet with him. No, I'm not going to be meeting with him for a while. No, I'm very happy with the deal we have right now with Canada.
So that was Monday. On Tuesday, we had Ontario Premier Doug Ford appearing on CNN with Jake Tabor, bragging about how great the ad was, how it was super effective, how Trump liked it at first, and then he only didn't like it after apparently someone told him not to like him. Let's play that clip.
I've never said anything personal about President Trump. In our ad, it was very ironic that President Trump saw it and he said, yeah, that was a good ad. If I was Canada, I'd run the same ad. And then all of a sudden he wakes up in the morning, someone whispers something in his ear, and now he's not happy. But it was an ad to inform the people in the U.S. and mission accomplished.
Okay, so Doug Ford thinks it's his job to educate the American population on tariffs, right? Like maybe this would be an ad that would be effective during the election, but then of course it's kind of election interference if you have a foreign country trying to run ads, trying to explain to Americans that tariffs are bad. Well, again, the Reagan ad came from a different time, before China came into the World Trade Organization and flooded the entire free trade system and tilted the scale and cheated and did all these nefarious things. The Americans are finally saying enough is enough. We're not going to go along with that anymore. But somehow, again, Ford trying to be morally superior to the Americans. I'm going to get your comment on it. I just want to play one more clip here. This is from Wednesday. Doug Ford telling reporters, this adds another kind of juicy layer into it, Keean, that Mark Carney was in the room when the Ronald Reagan ad was being reviewed, that he didn't stop it. He knew about it all along. Let's play that clip.
Back to the Reagan ad. How do you know the Prime Minister and his Chief of Staff saw this particular ad before you moved ahead with airing it?
I was with them.
Did they express concern when you were with them?
I'm not going to talk about our private conversation at all. told them that we're running it. I'm going to cut it off on Monday, and that's it. I think it was it was the right thing to do. It stirred a conversation like I've never seen before.
It was the right thing to do. It stirred a conversation like I've never seen before. It's like you got kicked out of the trade deals because of this ad. Like there was nothing good about it. There was no reason to do it. There was nothing. Like everything was going well. We Carney was out there basically trying to befriend Trump, doing what pretty much he has to do, which is say, flatter him and say, we'll do what we can. We'll work together with you. And then out of nowhere, bull in the China shop, Doug Ford just decides to run this ad, pick a huge fight for absolutely no reason. And now he's saying it was the right thing to do. What do you think, Keean?
Doug Ford can never take responsibility for his mistakes, and this is a perfect example of that. But this is also Mark Carney's issue. The fact that he's befriended Doug Ford, he's in the room using Doug Ford as like part of the negotiating team. Why isn't Danielle Smith in that room? I got to wonder. And I got to wonder if Danielle Smith is in that room, if maybe she would have advised the federal government and the Ontario government that provoking Donald Trump is not a good idea. When billions of dollars are on the line, when entire industries are on the line, you do not need to provoke the guy. You should be his friend. You should work with him. You should coordinate on things that you align with. And you should not try, especially when he instructs you to stop playing an ad that is relatively meaningless. It is a meaningless ad that accomplished nothing. When he says stop and you say, you're right, we just woke up the bear, we poked it too hard. You don't say, oh, well, we're going to let it play for the World Series and then we'll cut it off. Like what a dumb decision to recognize the threat that you just put the nation in and then just say, it was probably because there was some probably thing in the ad contract that said they had to run it for a certain amount of time, or they wanted to get their money's worth. I don't know what the final decision was on it to keep it running for 2 more days, but we were not going to lose our access to the negotiating table because the ad ran. We lost access to the negotiating table because they kept it playing after they were told to take it down. They agreed to take it down and then they left it playing. Doug Ford is trying to out Trump, and that will never work. People don't take him seriously, and Donald Trump has a bigger stick. That's the end. That's the end of it. And
well, that seems to be the memo that like every other country around the world has gotten. It's like, look at what the Trudeau administration did the first time around in 2016 to 2020, when at every opportunity they would mock and humiliate President Trump. You had finance minister and foreign affairs minister Chrystia Freeland going out there speaking at an anti-Trump conference, calling him an authoritarian and all this stuff, like constantly going out of their way to humiliate him. And look at what Trump did back, right? He doesn't want to do that again. He's not going to tolerate that. And you see countries around the world, whether they agree with Trump or disagree, that's not a matter of play here, right? We're dealing with a negotiator who says, I'm sick of being taken advantage of, and I'm going to make a better deal. I'm going to get a better deal for Americans across the board, across the world. And countries are falling in line and saying, okay, well, we just want to be able to have access to the American market. We just want to be able to go business as usual. So we will do what Trump is asking us to do. And it's like Canada, I think that Mark Carney did get that memo and has fallen in line with that. Put aside whether you think that is good or bad for Canada or the world. It's sort of like, this is the world that we live in, and we have to be realists here. And then it seems to me, again, for no reason, Doug Ford is just, I don't know. I can't even pretend to understand his motivation other than he's just humiliation and an embarrassment for all of Canada. Kind of tied to this is the World Series, which is happening right now. It's going to happen tonight in Toronto. They're going back for Game 6. And I want to pick at something that I know really upsets you, Keean, which is that this weird thing where we now change the national anthem at any opportunity for any reason whatsoever. So we'll start with Game 3 in Los Angeles. You had J.P. Sachs change the lyrics of "O Canada." He changed it from "our home and native land" to "our home on native land." Let's play that clip.
Oh, Canada, our home on native land.
So he's not the first one to do this. Other singers have done it. And I guess it's just a dig at like the very legitimacy of Canada as a country. It's like, it's not really your country, it's your home. You've stolen it from the natives. Okay. Next, we had Canadian American singer Rufus Wainwright changing the lyrics of "O Canada." Once again, this is Game 5 in Los Angeles. Instead of singing "That Only Us Command," instead of singing "An All of Us Command," he's saying "That Only Us Command." I guess this is trying again to say that the Americans don't command us. So this is like an anti-Trump dig here in our national anthem. Let's play that clip.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, that only us command.
So what do you think of using the national anthem to make political statements and to score political points, Keean?
I'm going to say something that will have the RCMP at my door if I speak honestly about that. It's extremely frustrating to see. A bunch of points. We need to get people that can actually sing the national anthem. Like, I could sing it better than that. JP Sachs butchered it, not just the words, but actually the notes of the song. The second guy, I don't know his name. I didn't know who JP Sachs was before this either. Maybe I'm just completely out of touch. Is he Canadian or is he an American?
He's a Toronto-based singer.
Oh, okay. He's not a good one. These guys are so bad, and trying to use the anthem, this symbol that Canadian soldiers fought and died under in, half dozen wars now. It's pathetic. It's a disgrace. It should be illegal. And I think it's now, from now on, it's either the French version or the instrumental version until we can sort out our stuff, because this is just too much. And to say our home on native land, while people's homes are being, the private property in Richmond is being threatened in a way that hasn't happened in this country yet at all, in a way that echoes the past of communist Europe and communist countries around the world, in China and elsewhere. I don't think people need to read their history before they start in both domestic Canadian history and international history before they start acting like they should be the ones writing national anthems, because they mean something. They are deeply powerful songs that unite a nation, and you using it as this like soapbox to score woke brownie points is pissing me off, and it's pissing the country off.
Well, it was the end of the Canadian tenors, right? The Canadian tenors did this once, I think, during Black Lives Matter, and it literally just ended their careers because it was just seen as so appalling that they would do that. And I think we should bring that back. I think that if you change the national anthem, you should get canceled. That's it. I'm not for cancel culture, but I think that when you it to me, it's like the height of arrogance and narcissism. It's like, I'm going to put my own political self ahead of unity in these national symbols. Like, we don't have that many uniting national symbols in Canada. And when you take the few that we have and you try to change them to fit today's politics, it's gross. But I will just say that this is all downstream from Justin Trudeau and the whole post-national state. Like, I have a hard time, really, honestly, if I'm honest with myself, getting upset about Rufus Wainwright changing the national anthem from "In All of Us Command" to "That Only Us Command," because neither of them are the national anthem. Neither of them are the correct lyrics. You'll recall that about 10 years ago, Justin Trudeau changed the national anthem from the lyric that we have been singing as a country, as Canadians, far before it was even the official national anthem. Canadians have been singing the song for over 100 years, and it was "In All Thy Sons Command." The sons of the country, sons of the nation. And they changed it to "All of Us Command" because it has to be gender neutral, even though the song was specifically talking about the male soldiers that defended Canadians. And back in those days, saying "All Thy Sons Command" would have included all children, and Canadian women would have known that they were included in that as well. It is absurd that Trudeau did that in the first place, and this is all just an inevitable outcrying of it. It's like, you know what? You change the national anthem, it doesn't mean anything anymore. So more people are going to change it. They're going to take out reference to God. They're going to say you stole the country. Eventually, yeah, it should just be instrumental, because enough of it. And I want to tie this into what happened on October 7th, the anniversary of the horrific terrorist attack in Israel, the pogrom. 1,200 civilians were murdered in their homes and at a music festival. And remind the audience that the Toronto school decided to play "O Canada" in Arabic on that day. For some reason, the anniversary of the worst despicable pogrom against Jews in the Second World War, we decided to play the anthem of the people who perpetrated the massacre, again, for no reason. I think this should be illegal. Canada's national anthem needs to be in the official languages of our country, English and French if you're in Quebec or New Brunswick, but it should be in English, and you shouldn't have the right to change it and put it in other languages. I get that you're trying to, I don't know what, like make foreigners happy and make newcomers happy that they get a stake in our national symbols, but that's not how it works. You can't have a country unless you have uniting symbols. Language is one of those. National anthem is the other. So I think that singing your national anthem in Arabic any day, because it's Canada, but also on this day for those Jewish students who was in a Jewish area, apparently, just totally unacceptable, equally as bad as changing the national anthem at the games. What do you think?
To go back to the second version of that national anthem at the Jays game, I was reading, maybe it was Dr. Brody that was saying this, that he didn't even say it in the right, like it wasn't grammatically correct to say that only us command. It would be that only we command. Like these guys they're not even singing words that make sense. And this singing it in Arabic as well, I mean, it's just an absolute affront to the history of this country and the people that built this country. I think this country is slowly dying, and anything that we can do to slow that death is valuable and good and righteous. I mean, let's talk about the other thing we wanted to talk about today. The Gazan refugee in Montreal who shared a video ranting against Halloween decorations. I mean, Halloween decorations are a few steps below the importance of like a national symbol, like a national anthem, but it's just another punch in the nose to Canadians who open their doors and their hearts to these guys to help them out. And
Wait, I'll just interrupt you. Let's just in case the audience doesn't know what Keean's talking about here, I'll play the clip. This is Samar Al-Kador, a Gazan refugee in Montreal, sharing a video. So apparently she just doesn't like the Halloween costumes. Fine, whatever. Free country, you can criticize Halloween costumes. But then she goes on a deranged rant, cursing white people and Westerners and saying that there's something morally wrong in our country. It's like, hello, you are engaging in a war on your side of the world, and you're engaging in tribal killings, and we're gracious enough to let you into our country. And what do? You don't like someone's Halloween costumes, so you go on a deranged genocidal rant against white people. Like, these people are nuts. They shouldn't be in our country. They should get out. Okay, let's play the clip. This sort of going viral last week on October 22nd, but here is the clip.
I just want to ask, is this okay? Is this like how holidays look like? This is like just across the street from my sister's. Like, is this okay? What's the fun about it? Like, what is the fun about it? What is civilized about it? What is holiday about it? Y'all, you like white people, you like Westerners and West. Like, I don't know what to say, like, everyone.
Okay, so she doesn't like some Halloween costumes. Fair enough. I don't really like gory stuff. I'm not really one for that. But it actually makes me want to defend something like that, because Halloween is like an all Canadian holiday, right? It's like, it doesn't actually matter what your background is or what,
Yeah.
Sure. Originally it was a Christian holiday. It was the day before All Saints Day. And so it was All Hallows Eve. It is a Christian tradition. But it has been broadened so much that anyone can enjoy it. Anyone can participate in it in whatever way you want. For me, when you're a kid, Halloween's the best, and then you get older and you kind of don't have any use for it, you don't celebrate it, then you have kids and it becomes amazing all over again. So much fun decorating the costumes, the kids. I have to just interject, Keean, because I took my kids to a community Halloween party last Sunday, and my son won most creative Halloween costume, and it was like my proudest moment of my life. Like, I was like, as a mom, when your son, we put a lot of effort into it. We went out and picked out all the pieces. We worked on it together. And for him to win, it was like, that's the best, right? It really just is the best. And again, it's something that brings you together in your community, regardless of your background, your faith. So the fact that she comes in, she doesn't like the decorations, whatever. But then she turns it into the anti-white derangement. It just totally, get out. Okay, you can leave. You don't like us here? Get out of my country, please.
trick or treating is like this like community building exercise in trust. It's like the highest trust thing a community can do is send your child door to door to meet strangers and take food from them. It's like
True.
it's thinking a little bit deeply about what Halloween is beyond, All Saints Day and All Hallows Eve. That's what it is. It's trusting your community enough to feed your child. And if this woman went door knocking in Gaza, she'd get her head blown off, whether she was asking for food or not, let alone her kid doing that, where all sorts of terrible things would happen to them in Gaza. We've built this country through, the last decades that I've been alive, almost 3 now, and through the century and a half that our ancestors have been building this country, tilling the soil and building communities. And to see these newcomers, to use the globalist term that has replaced the term migrant, because that's been turned into a sour word in people's mouths lately, to see these newcomers come and spit on everything that we've built is going to backfire on them in a way that they have not expected. You can look at what Donald Trump has said recently. He's putting a cap on refugees, not immigrants, not economic migrants or family reunification migrants or whatever the chic terms are lately. These are refugees, people that by definition there's like international obligations to and are the most deserving people to come and take refuge in your country. There's like a certain amount of compassion every Canadian should have for refugees. We were known for taking refugees in the past. And now Canadians are looking at all of these refugees, immigrants, whatever it is, student visa holders, as the same type of person. And they're not. They shouldn't be. But the fact that this Gazan refugee came in and starts acting like a bull in the china shop, like you mentioned Doug Ford was, but with our culture instead, it, like I said, it is going to backfire in ways that they never expected, as the white population becomes just like, and not just white, but old stock Canadians, I should say, become a smaller and smaller segment of the population. The majority of the population is soon going to be foreign born with few ties to this country at all. The population that sees everything falling apart is going to react very poorly.
Well, it's a radical experiment that we've indulged in under successive Liberal and Conservative governments, but it got much, much worse under Justin Trudeau, which is just how many people from the third world can we flood our country in, and will it still be Canada? Like, okay, what if we bring in 2 million immigrants a year? Is it still Canada? Okay, let's try 4 million a year. Is it still Canada? Like, eventually it just won't be Canada anymore when you hit a pivotal point. And I will just go back and say, look, yes, you have freedom of speech in Canada. You can criticize someone's Halloween costumes. But interesting point is that if you are a foreigner and you're not a Canadian, should you really have access to the full leverage of freedom of speech? I mean, this is what happened in the US is he said, look, all of these students that are here on visas are supposed to be on their best behavior. And no, they don't get full access to the Bill of Rights and the Constitution because they're here as visitors. They should be held to a higher standard. They shouldn't have all the rights and protections of Americans. They should be held to a higher standard. And if you're coming here to organize communist rallies, to organize, intimidating pro-terrorist rallies that hold up our streets, hold up our traffic, dominate the streets, like intimidating people in Jewish areas and whatnot. Like, no, you shouldn't be allowed to be in the country. You should have your visa stripped. And I don't know if this individual is a Canadian citizen or not, but I think that there's some good logic there. And I think that Canadians are going to have to take a pretty hard line against these people that come to our country and objectively hate us. Okay, Keean, I do want to move on. Let's move to a viewer question here. This comes from Wendy Bowden, and this is a topic that I want to talk to you about anyway out in Alberta. But Wendy asks, what do you think of what's happening in Alberta with the ATA, the Alberta Teachers Association, NDP, and Gil McGowan trying to topple the UCP and destroy Danielle Smith. I don't recognize my country anymore. So just a quick
Yeah.
update on what is happening out in Alberta. The teachers went on strike. 90% of them voted against a new proposed salary bump that would give them a 12% raise in their pay. They said no to that. What they really wanted was to lock in smaller class sizes. I'm kind of sympathetic to that, but the way that they wanted it was pretty difficult. And so Premier Smith finally decided to use a notwithstanding clause to force the teachers to get back to work, which caused everybody to basically light their hair on fire, like it's a huge offense. I mean, hello, the notwithstanding clause is part of our Constitution. It's supposed to be used for these circumstances. And so anyway, Keean, I'm wondering what you make of the whole situation out there.
Yeah, so much to talk about on this. I'll work my way backwards. Nenshi said that he's going to ban the use of the notwithstanding clause. For people that don't know the history of the notwithstanding clause, it was like one of the things that was a requirement for Western provinces to join Confederation, which, I mean, it's just typical Nenshi, like aligning ideologically with the East. And there's lots of great people in the East, but when it comes to their government and their decisions on constitutional affairs, I don't trust them. And Nenshi saying that he's going to outlaw the use of the notwithstanding clause, I don't even think that that's legal. Like that might be illegal. It's unconstitutional. To talk about teachers, the 90% that voted to go on strike, I think that the amount of teachers that wanted to continue to strike as it went on waned a little bit. And the people that voted no, I mean, I know some of them. I have teachers in my family. One of my good friends, his mother, a wonderful woman out in rural Alberta, she teaches how to write kids. She's a Christian woman. And she voted against the strike because she knew that she was, no matter what raise they got, and the raise, if they got the raise that they were asking, the money she would have lost from the strike would have been more than she would have ever made. It was a political strike at the root of it. It was a strike. The ATA is a political organization that needs to be broken up, by the way. There's tons of structural issues with the ATA that make it different than the average labor union. They control punishment of teachers. They have a budget that they routinely abuse for political purposes. They're not paying the teachers while they're on strike. Normally, Canada Post workers will go on strike. They'll get paid while they're on strike. Other labor unions, they'll get paid while they go on strike so that they can continue to afford groceries and don't need to be on the Canadian equivalent of food stamps. But the ATA blew all their money advertising against Danielle Smith and the Alberta UCP government. This whole rally was created and conceived to attack Danielle Smith. I think that the general support of the strike waned over time. I think that what they were asking for, I mean, we sent our reporter out to these protests in Edmonton, Alexa Posa, to ask some of these people some questions. I mean, one of them, the interview with the demon went mega viral.
Let's play that because this is just so symbolic of our times. So Juno News' Alexa Posa spoke to a self-identified demon at the Alberta teachers' protest in Edmonton. Here's what that looked like.
Want to hold up your sign and explain what it means?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in the church. I'm no longer within the church, and I found out that Smith is still in the church. So I contacted my scary little friend, and he said that he was willing to give her my seat instead. So hopefully she'll accept that, and then she can go where she belongs.
What? Okay, so they're outright they're saying the quiet part out loud. The left is demonic, and the demons are opposed to Danielle Smith. Godspeed, Premier Smith. May God be with you. And what kind of world are we living in where if you and I talk about how there are demonic forces on the left and that we are engaged in some kind of a spiritual war? I truly believe that after the death of Charlie Kirk and prior to that, but they're out there. The left is out there, saying it as well, that they are demonic. They are motivated by the devil, and that is why they're doing what they do. What do you think, Keean?
I agree with what you said. I am so grateful that we had Alexa to be at that rally because the CBC would have saw that and they would not have pointed the camera in that direction.
Right.
And what I've learned in doing this job for the last 7 years now is that the most important thing we can decide to do is where we point the camera. because the viewer at home who works all day long and goes home to watch the news at night, what's on Juno News, what's on the CBC, what's on wherever they get their news, they're completely at the behest of the person who pointed the camera and asked the questions of the person in front of it. And Alexis saw that. She saw how outrageous it would be. And she knew that no other platform, especially not the mainstream media, would show their viewers what was behind this teacher's strike and the demonic forces behind it that are motivating it, that are influencing Alberta's children. Yeah, I mean, how can you possibly think that that is a good look for your cause? You're trying to convince Albertans that you deserve more money so that you can further influence their kids. No. My class size of 45, or at 45, there's no class size of 45. My class size of 40 is too high. I need more one-on-one time with kids so I can convince them how great Satan is. That's what they're saying.
Right.
It's wrong, it's evil, and I'm again grateful that we have a transnational team of across the country team of reporters that are able to show up at rallies like this and tell the stories that the mainstream media is brushing under the rug.
Well, it's so true, right? We all remember how the trucker convoy was entirely peaceful. They were, law-abiding, good-hearted Canadians who just were sick of the mandates. We all were. They spoke for all of us when they went out there. One knucklehead shows up with a Nazi flag, obviously an aggravator, probably paid for by the. I mean, we never confirmed this, but probably paid for by somebody to just show up. He was there for all of 30 seconds. Someone snapped a photo of him, and all of a sudden, all of the truckers were Nazis. Right? One person shows up at the rally. No way was even proven that he was affiliated with them. No one interviewed him. No one talked to him. No one knew why he had that Nazi flag or who he was or where he came from. But it was enough. That was enough evidence for the legacy media to paint the entire crowd with one brush. And they said, "Look, we've proven it. There you have it." One of the things this is a little off topic and it's not what Juno News is doing, but the No Kings rallies that happen all over the United States. I recommend the audience go and watch Megyn Kelly's show. The day after the No Kings rally, all that she did, she spent the entire show just playing clips of people at those rallies and the insanely demonic things that they were saying, the satanic things that they were saying, the cruel, evil things that they were saying about Charlie Kirk. And this wasn't just like, cherry picked here and there. It was happening all over the country. It was happening elderly people, young people, students, retirees. There was a lot of it. It was really gross, right? And yet the media won't show you that side of the Kings rally. They'll just say, "Oh, look at these patriotic Americans standing up against Trump," right? So the story that you see is entirely determined by the media. There's a couple more questions we're not going to get to that are to this light. I want to show one story to the audience, a Canadian example of CTV and how they lie to you and how they openly lie to you. So this is the same story about Premier Smith using the notwithstanding clause, which is part of our Constitution. And so CTV originally had this story. Experts call Alberta's use of the notwithstanding clause a threat to democracy. To your point, Keean, I mean, this was literally part of the deal that we would join the country. But experts, right? And this is something that I pointed out to the audience probably for a decade now, that this is a trick that journalists will use. They will take an opinion, what should be an opinion piece, right? And they'll say, "My opinion is that this is wrong." Yeah. But because they're a journalist, they're not supposed to do that. So they find an expert that has their same opinion, and then they quote that expert and they interview that expert who says exactly what they was if they were an opinion columnist. And so it's an opinion piece, but it's dressed up as a news story. Well, thankfully, there was a lot of people online calling us out, including Ellie Cantinental, who's a former True North reporter, and he's doing some freelance stuff with us at Juno now. And he just pointed out that the 4 experts that they choose were all left-wing activists. They were all left-wingers, right? And so after some pushback from other people, including former Premier Jason Kenney, CTV changed the headline to "Critics call Alberta's use of notwithstanding clause a threat to democracy," right? That's totally different. Right? When you say that an expert says something, it gives us authority, right? It's a moral hazard, but it says, the people who are your intellectual betters believe that this is bad. And that communicates one message. It's totally different than just saying critics don't like it. Well, of course critics don't like it. They're on the other side. They're going to be critical of it. And so I'm glad, I guess, that CTV changed the headline, but it just shows you how brutally dishonest the legacy media is and how much you need Juno News. I'm honestly so happy that we have created this organization, that the audience likes it. You guys support us, that we've hit our goals, that we're continuing to grow, because Canada just needs new media. we need a new government, yes, but we also need a changing of the guard. We just need all of these legacy media to be called out, exposed for how corrupt and dishonest they are, so that we can move on and have a better future.
100%. I want to build our relationship with our audience, because the only people that I care about making sure are happy are them, not our advertisers, not our, not
the political class.
Yeah, it's the people that watch our content, that have supported me and you for a long, long time. They come first, and making sure that we reflect their interests, which is the interest of being informed of what's going on in a fair and reasonable way. I don't hide my biases. I'm a right-wing individual, but our audience knows that. We talked about this earlier. The CBC tries to lie and say that they're neutral. The CTV tries to lie and say that they are neutral. But with headlines like that, it's indisputable that they are not. So I'm glad that we're doing things like this fireside chat. I think we should do more. I think that with this survey that we got back, there's a ton of really useful information that we've received that we're going to use to build Juno News into something even better. I mean, soon we're going to be launching a story. You'll be able to get a mug just like this, and a bunch of other stuff, sweaters, and a bunch of different types of merch, so that we can continue to keep this brand and our relationship with our audience, because that's what comes first.
100%. All right. I think we should wrap it up here. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. It's great to be back. Keean, always enjoy the conversations. I agree. We should do these things more often. Folks, happy Halloween. Have a good one tonight. And we will be back again next week. Thank you so much. And God bless. I'm Candice Malcolm. It's Keean Bexte. Have a good one.